So I did the class this morning on our regular class schedule, and it was on moving our breathing parts. And I thought I would just go ahead and do a shortened version of that that is just the exercises and without all the explanation, bits and pieces of it. And I'm looking at this realizing this looks really funny here that I have this giant bottle of whiskey next to me for class. So that's just for some liquid courage. Just kidding. I'm going to use that as my log for one of the for the log pullover exercise. So so you'll have whatever you'll have, maybe not a full bottle of whiskey, but something of substance that you'll use for that. So you should have everything from the list at your ready to do these exercises. So we're just going to go right through it. I've got my list here so I don't forget anything. I went through the original video. So the first thing we're going to do is actually work on relaxing the belly. So you can just be in a comfortable seated position and probably elevated up on something so that your pelvis can relax into something closer to neutral. So sitting on the front edge of whatever you're sitting on so your pelvis can untuck, letting your rib cage relax down. And you're just going to let your belly go. You might want to close your eyes for this and just let your belly relax. Your exhale is helpful for that, I find. Your breath can be just normal breathing in and out. Let the belly relax. What you're also doing is letting your diaphragm relax. So that's kind of the top of your belly region is the diaphragm, bottom of the rib cage, top of the belly. So you're just letting everything go. And if you're anything like me and you have a habit of pulling your belly in, this might be challenging, but this is a really good thing to practice, a really good habit to get into of not sucking your belly in or pulling your belly in all the time. Just let it go. You'll probably find that as you let it go, you might pull it back in, let it release again, and there's probably more to release. Can you let it go a little bit more? I find it to be a little bit easier to let it relax if I'm not touching my belly. But if you need some feedback and you want to put your hands on your low belly, you can do that. See if that helps you with the tactile cueing to relax, release. If that doesn't help any, put your hands back on your sides or on your legs. If you're finding that as you relax, that indeed you do want to pull your belly back in, and then you have to remind yourself, oh wait, I'm going the other way, let it relax. This is going to be something you want to check in with yourself throughout the day. Okay, go ahead and open your eyes. We're going to do a little bit of rib cage breathing. So I'm going to start with just the hands, and then we'll move to the strap. So you're going to wrap your hands around your rib cage. You're going to go up pretty high. You don't want them around your waist. You actually want them around the bones of your ribs. And I've got my thumb kind of on the back side of the rib cage there so that I can use my hands to push to create a little bit of resistance. But if that bothers your thumbs, you can just have your hands on the sides and have your thumbs in front with your fingers. So either one works. You want to try to let your shoulders relax down as you got your hands here. So you're going to take a nice big breath in and exhale. Do that again, nice big breath in and exhale. And hopefully you're feeling your rib cage move. You're feeling your ribs move underneath your hands. But now we're going to be a little bit more intentional about that. So when you breathe in, really feel your rib cage expand into your hands. And when you breathe out, you can actually use your hands to create a little bit more pressure. to actually push your ribs in towards each other, or help to close the rib cage down. So when you breathe in, the ribs expand. When you breathe out, the ribs close in. They do a little bit of kind of flipping up on their sides when you breathe in. So that's the size getting bigger that you feel under your hands when you breathe in. So go ahead and do that again. Breathe in and breathe out. And breathe in and breathe out. All right, go ahead and relax your hands. So let's just experiment a little bit with two different ways of breathing in and out. So you can breathe in through your nose, you can breathe in through your mouth, you can breathe out through your nose, you can breathe out through your mouth. And there's a few ways that you can also breathe out through your mouth. So I prefer to breathe in through the nose. The nose helps to warm the air as it comes in. And then I prefer to breathe out through the mouth and pushing the air out as if I were like blowing out candles, for example. So let's compare those two. So go ahead and breathe in through your nose, still expanding your rib cage like we did, and breathe out like you're fogging a mirror with an open mouth. Breathe in through your nose and breathe out like you're fogging a mirror. So now you're going to breathe in through your nose and you're going to blow the air out like you're blowing out candles. Breathe in through your nose and breathe out. Breathe in through your nose and breathe out. So for me, when I breathe out with the open mouth like I'm fogging a mirror, it's a very short, shallow exhale. And it's a much longer exhale for me to breathe out through my mouth. So find the one that works best for you. And if you find that they're both pretty short and shallow, then these are going to be exercises you want to do periodically. And you will also maybe notice that you get a little lightheaded, get a little maybe dizzy as you're doing this, because you're getting more oxygen in than you're used to. Most of us breathe fairly shallowly, and you're taking in just the amount of air that you need, not necessarily as much as we're doing right now, because we're doing breathing exercises. So this isn't like your normal breathing, right? And most of us aren't doing a whole lot of movement that's requiring a lot more oxygen, that's requiring us to take these big deep breaths. And we don't do a whole lot of that for the most part in our daily lives anyway. So these breathing exercises can be really helpful, but at a time like this, they can be especially helpful. So you're going to take your strap, and I prefer to do this exercise with an inelastic strap. If all you have is something elastic, you can absolutely use that. But these are exercises that were all listed out in Katie Bowman's most recent Nutritious Movement email of moving all of our breathing parts, and she uses an elastic tube and ties it around the rib cage. You're not going to tie it. You're just going to cross it in front. You've got it up high around your rib cage. And you're going to hold the strap, the opposite ends, in your opposite hands. And I've got my palms up, my elbows relaxed down, and my shoulders relaxed down. And you're going to pull the strap pretty tightly around your rib cage. So you're creating some resistance with the strap. But again, the strap is just crossed, it's not tied. So when you breathe in, you should feel your ribs move into the strap, just like you did with your hands. And when you breathe out, you should feel the strap loosen around your rib cage. Breathe in. As your rib cage gets bigger, you should see your hands get closer to each other. And when you breathe out, you should see your hands get further away from each other because the strap is getting smaller. The circumference of the strap is getting smaller. So go ahead and do that a couple more times. Breathe in to your rib cage. Feel your ribs press into the strap. Your hands get a little bit closer together, and breathe out, blow the air out. Keep pulling the strap taut around your rib cage, and you'll see that your hands get further away from each other. Breathe in and breathe out. One more time. Breathe in and breathe out. So I mentioned this in the more explanatory class, but I didn't go back and say it again. If you do this looking in a mirror and you see your shoulders come up and down with your inhales and exhales, you're going to work on that expansion happening through the rib cage and not so much with an elevation of your shoulders. So that's another piece that you can add in your breathing exercises. Okay, so we're going to come down into a quadruped or hands and knees position, and we're going to repeat that belly relaxation or belly release exercise that we did in the beginning, and that diaphragm release that goes with it. You can move your bolster out of your way and come down onto hands and knees. If it bothers your hands or you can't be on your hands, you can come all the way down to your elbows for this exercise. That works. If you can't be on your knees, you can either pad your knees, or you can come back to your seated position and just repeat this belly release exercise in a seated position. So from your quadruped hands and knees position, you can let your head relax down, and you're going to do that belly relaxation again. So you're just letting the skin of your belly drop down towards the floor. So it's just like we did seated, but now you've got gravity to help you out a little bit here. So you're letting the back of the neck relax, you're letting your belly relax. You're also letting your pelvis relax. So you should have a little bit of a lumbar curve here. You don't have to force it, but if you get into a hands and knees position and you automatically tuck your pelvis and your back is flat, you're going to let your waistband relax down. That will also make the belly release a little bit easier for you as well. So all you're doing is letting the belly go, letting the belly go, letting the belly go. Not doing anything intentional with your breathing, just letting the belly relax. Can you let it go a little bit more? Now we're going to add in a little bit of that rib cage breathing, just like we did with the strap. So you're going to breathe in and imagine pushing your rib cage against that strap that was wrapped around your ribs. And you're going to exhale and make your rib cage smaller. Breathe in. Expand the rib cage and breathe out. Breathe in and breathe out. Now, as we go through this exercise, if you find that your wrists start to get tired, you can always take a break by coming down onto your elbows, but give yourself a chance to actually be with your hands on the ground for at least part of it if you're able to get to that position, so you have a little bit of opportunity to do some weight bearing on your wrists as well. So now it's happy birthday time. So you're going to have your birthday cake for whatever your next birthday is. It's right there on the floor between your hands with the exact number of candles for your next birthday. So you're going to breathe in and expand the rib cage, and when you breathe out, you're going to blow out all of your candles. You don't actually have to move your head around. Sorry, I took that a little bit literally. Breathe in, expand the rib cage. Breathe out, blow out all of your candles. You know those last couple of candles that are hard to blow out? You got to blow all the way from your low belly. Think about that. If spit comes out, it's totally fine. You get the cake to yourself. Breathe in. Breathe out. All of the air. So that last little bit of exhale should not come with any of your spine parts moving. So your tailbone should not tuck under as you're blowing out. Your rib cage should not lift up to the ceiling while you're blowing out. The only thing that's really moving, bony-wise, is your ribs. So when you breathe in, your ribs get bigger, and when you breathe out, your pelvis doesn't move and your spine doesn't move. Okay, so we're going to come down onto, actually, we're going to come back to a seated position. Did I skip something? No, I didn't. We're going to come back to your seated position. Sorry, come back to your seated position. And I'm just going to change position with my legs. I'm just going to go into a wide V sit for no other reason other than to change position with my legs. And we don't do a whole lot with our upper bodies either. We don't do a lot of weight bearing on our wrists. We don't do really any hanging, unless you are. And but we don't have a whole lot of requirements to reach our arms up overhead. So that's what I want you to do. Just reach your arms up to the ceiling. Reach your fingertips up to the ceiling. How high can you reach your hands? You'll probably find that in my instruction here of lifting your hands up and reaching all the way up to the ceiling that you've elevated your shoulders and probably your rib cage as well. So you can think about bringing the shoulders down. You can think about bringing the rib cage back down a little bit. And we're going to grab a hold of the left wrist with the right hand. And you're just going to bend over to the right just a little bit. So you're not leaning all the way over onto the right side of your pelvis. Your pelvis doesn't really move very much here. We're just lengthening on the left side, thinking about bringing the left side of the rib cage up away from the left side of the pelvis, the left hip, just getting longer on the left side of your body. And think about that going up towards the ceiling. Take a big breath in there to expand your rib cage and blow all of your air out just like before. Breathe in and breathe out. Go ahead and grab a hold of your right wrist with your left hand. Bring yourself all the way back up and then lean slightly to the left. Again, you haven't tipped yourself over to the left. You're not leaning all the way over. We're just lengthening the right side of the waist. You're thinking about lifting the right side of the rib cage up away from the right hip. And breathing into the right side of the rib cage and exhale. And breathe in and exhale. And go ahead and bring yourself back up. Relax your hands back down. And then you can come to a different position with your legs. You can have your legs straight out in front of you. You can bend your knees a little bit. I want you to be in a position where you can kind of lean yourself forward. So you're actually rounding your spine forward here. And that's what you want. You want to round your spine forward. So you can even do this seated in a chair. It might be easy to just kind of rest your arms on your thighs. I'm actually going to come back to a cross-legged position and put my hands on the floor because that's a little bit easier for me. It doesn't matter. Just let your spine round forward a little bit. You're going to let your chin drop down towards your chest. And we're going to do a couple of deep breaths in this position. So this helps to open up the backside of the rib cage. And for a lot of us, if you have a more curved upper spine or mid spine, your thoracic spine, when you try to sit up or stand up straight, you kind of close off the backside of the rib cage a little bit, and that can make it a little bit harder for the ribs to move. So this is just taking advantage of the position that many of our spines are already in. We're just getting back into that position. So you're relaxing the head, taking a big deep breath in, and exhale. Big deep breath in. Think of breathing into the ribs on the back side of your body. And exhale. And one more time, breathe in. And exhale. So as I mentioned, a lot of these, or some of these exercises are from this video that I had, that was sent to me from a doctor that was giving some protocols for what you can do if you do end up with the disease or shortness of breath. But these are useful tools just for keeping your rib cage and your breathing part supple, as well as for any kind of sickness that you might get if you have a cough. And sometimes coughing can be a little bit difficult. So you're going to come down onto the floor and you're going to bolster yourself up so that your shoulders are elevated and your head is maybe elevated just a little bit more than that. So I'm using my yoga bolster and I'm just going to stack my blanket right on top of that for my head. So my shoulders will go here, my head will go here. If all you've got is a blanket, this works really well. Just fold up 2/3 of it so you have a little bit higher section for your head and 1/3 section for your shoulders. So you have a little bit of a ramp created. You could do this with a couple of pillows as well. Doesn't really matter too much. You just want to make sure that your rib cage has access to drop down lower than your shoulders. So you don't want your rib cage to be bolstered up on your whatever you've got, whatever you're using. So you can see my hand underneath my rib cage here. So it has access to relax down towards the floor. It's not on the floor. If you've got a stacked up blanket or some stacked up pillows, your ribs might be on the floor, and that's totally fine. So we're going to do some angel motion. So this is just like you've got, just like you're making sand or snow angels. You're going to imagine you've got a bowl of soup in each hand. So you're holding your soup and you're making your angel motions with your arms. Oops, look, my whiskey's in the way. Bring your arms up overhead and then back down by your waist, by your hips. Do that a few times. If you're doing a lot of work while you're sitting around during this shelter in place, stay at home, Billy Bobber, and maybe working on things like making masks or other crafty projects where maybe you're actually working with your arms in front of you quite a lot, gardening even. I know a lot of people are working on garden stuff. This is a good one for opening up the chest and the front of the shoulders. So go ahead and do that one more time, one full revolution all the way up and down, making those angel motions with the arms, or wing motions. I guess you're making your wings. And then you're going to imagine your bowls of soup, you're going to dump them out behind you. So you're going to actually tip the arm so that your thumb points down towards the floor and your pinky points up towards the ceiling. And you can go the other way with this. You can get your thumbs down and your pinkies up by internally rotating or rolling the arms inward. You want to go backwards. So you actually want to take your bowls of soup and just dump them out behind you. And then you're going to do that same motion, dragging the thumb towards the floor. Your thumbs might not be on the floor. And likewise, on your first version, your first pass at this with the palms up, your backs of your hands might not be on the floor. So that's totally okay. Want to make sure you're keeping the rib cage relaxed down the whole time as you're making these, going through this range of motion with the arms. All right, so now this is where you're going to grab your object that weighs a little bit more. So here, this is where my bottle of whiskey comes into play. This is what I happened to grab, and it was close, and I knew it would probably be about the right height. Yesterday, I used a book in class, and it was a little bit too light. You want something that has a little bit of weight to it. Something like your half dome would be way too light. So you do want to have something that has some weight to it, but you also want to have something that you can hold on to. So I'm actually palming the side of the bottle here, the body of the bottle, because I don't want to drop it for numerous reasons. So same thing with you, whatever you're holding on to. If you are holding something flat like a book, let it rest on your flat hands as opposed to like holding it from the side and doing it that way. Just let it rest on your flat hands, and then you'll just have to make some adjustments with your wrists. So, but if you're holding on to something that you can actually grip and hold on to, do that. So you're moving from the shoulder joint here, not from the elbow joint. So the elbows aren't going to bend and the rib cage isn't going to move, but you're going to slowly lower whatever that object is down towards the floor behind you, only going as far as you're able to go while just moving at the shoulders. So you're not going to let the rib cage come up. You're going to keep the ribs down, and then you're going to bring that object back up over the chest. So you're going to inhale and lower that object towards the floor behind you, only moving from the shoulder so the elbows don't bend here, ribs don't lift, and exhale and bring that object back up over the chest. Inhale, lower that item down behind you. And exhale, bring it back up over the chest. Inhale, lower it behind you. Not lifting up the rib cage. Exhale, bring it back up over the chest. And we'll do that one more time. Inhale, lower that behind you, moving just from the shoulders. Ribs stay down. In keeping the ribs down, you're actually using your abdominal muscles to keep those ribs down. So that's part of why this becomes an abdominal exercise. So it's all part of your breathing muscles. All right, go ahead and set that object down out of your way. And we are going to come flip over onto hands and knees, and we're going to do our thoracic stretch. So if you can't be on your knees, you can always do this one standing with your hands on a chair or on the wall. But you're basically going to come down, not just to hands and knees, but actually to elbows. And you're going to let your elbows come in front of your shoulders. So hands and knees position would be wrists directly under the shoulders. So instead of coming with your elbows directly under your shoulders, you're going to let your elbows walk forward just a little bit. Your butt stays up in the air. Palms flip over to palm up, or hands flip over to palm up. Your forearms are pretty parallel with each other. You're going to let your forehead come down onto the floor, and you're going to let your spine sink down towards the floor. And your belly's going to relax. Butt stays up in the air, so you're not sitting with your butt back towards your heels. This is not child's pose. You want enough room for your spine to sink down towards the floor to get that extension. Feel that stretch in your back. And you can think of like somebody's palm pressing lightly right in between your shoulder blades. That's the spot where you're really trying to let that piece sink down towards the floor. And then you can add those same deep breaths, breathing in, expanding the rib cage, and exhale, closing the ribs all the way. Breathe in, expand the rib cage, and exhale, close the ribs. All right, you're going to come back to a seated position, and this is some exercises that you can do for working on those deep breaths. And as I mentioned in the full length class, one of the things that I had read in regards to the disease is that if you're able to take a deep breath and you're still able to cough, your symptoms are probably still okay with the disease. But I also wanted to mention, if you are feeling short of breath, that is when you're supposed to go to the hospital. So I'm not saying just stay home and do these deep breathing exercises. Go to the hospital and take care of yourself as you need to. Okay, so what we're going to do is 10 deep breaths. There's a pause in between each, and then a long exhale. Your legs can be in whatever position is comfortable for you to sit in. So you're going to take a nice deep breath in, expand that rib cage, and pause and blow the air out. Deep breath in, pause, and exhale. 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 All right, the next one that we're going to do, we're going to have a couple of coughing. So we're going to do 5 of these. So you're going to take that same deep breath in, and then you're going to cough your exhale. So you're going to breathe in. And breathe in. And cough. Breathe in. And cough. Sorry, breathe in. Cough. And breathe in. And cough. Okay, so those are all the exercises that we did in that class. Sorry about the dog barking. I was trying to get through that without that happening. We did pretty good, almost got all the way to the end. All right, so that's just a short little class that you can do. I'm not sure how long that was, but there you go. Thank you.